I want to see if anyone's got the answer to my dilemma. This is my ECOS, and this shows the track plan around the station. Now all the points are controlled by seat motors with and all the points are Electrofrog points. I used to have the Electrofrog part controlled by the seat motor, so it was actually switched mechanically, and I wasn't happy with this because what I found was the seat motor would turn enough to turn the point, but not enough sometimes to change the switch in the point motor. Now any of you know what I'm talking about will understand that unless the point motor is dead center, sometimes you can fire the point motor which will fire it enough to change the point but not enough to change the switch, so sometimes the Electrofrog part doesn't work. So I thought I'd get around that problem, so I've changed all my decoders to the new ADS 2FX solenoid decoder, which also changes the points polarity at the same time. Now each of the points here that you can see here has its own controller, if you like. I mean, each controller changes 2 points, but basically each point goes to a separate controller or part of the controller. I mean, what I did think of doing was, for instance, these two here, which will always change together, putting them to the same controller. But then I thought it's got enough power in the controller to change 2 points at the same time because it's a built-in CDU. But I thought it might confuse the Electrofrog part, and I didn't think that would work, so I just simply fed each point motor to a separate solenoid decoder. So then what I thought was that, as you can see here, when I keep the camera at the same bit, if I change these points, I have to change both points by touching them, which is fine, but it would be a lot simpler if I could just do that in one movement, touch any of the points and they both changed. Well, like, that's easy enough to set up. All you've got to do, and those of you who know the ECOS will know how to do this, is find the number, and I can see that's number 34. Sorry about the camera work. And again, that one is 33. So all I have to do is change them both to the same number, which I've done. And when you fire the point off by touching any one of the points or in the middle, it fires both points off as I suspected it would do, because I changed them both to the same point number, 34. The only problem is one of the points changes the polarity on it, okay, but the other one just remains fixed. It doesn't change the polarity, and I simply can't get my head around it, because if they work as individuals and change the polarity correctly, just because you're giving it a different number and firing them off together, why should that make any difference to the polarity? I can't understand it. And I've tried it on 2 pairs and it's done exactly the same. It fires it off on one touch, will fire off both point motors, which it should do. There's no reason it shouldn't do that, and there's no reason it shouldn't change the polarity on each of them, because if you're firing it off, whether you're doing it individually or both at the same time, it should change the polarity, but it's not. One of the point motors changes polarity in the correct way, but the other one doesn't, and it happens on both sets, so it's obviously some sort of built-in problem, but I can't figure it out, and I've gone over and over it and just cannot get to the bottom of it. So if anyone knows what I'm talking about and has a solution or a reason for it, I'll be really interested to find out. Or if someone knows something about it but doesn't quite understand what I mean, please contact me and I'll explain it a little bit more perhaps. But anyway, hopefully someone will come back with something. Okay, my next little question or problem is I've pretty much decided the layout for the Heritage, and I've sort of laid out the track to how I'm thinking of doing it. As you can see, I'm thinking of having a little turntable. See if I can see what I've done. I've wired in the first point here. I've had to do a surface motor because I just can't get underneath, but I'll sort of disguise it in some way, so that won't be a real problem. So it comes around here, splits up into further lines. This one will be a raised one to put the to go higher onto the coal dispenser, can't think what they call it. And this will be the feed line to be fed the coal, and I might have an ash pit in here on the same line. I've also built this little platform here, which is a Skytrex. It comes in just white plastic. It's all sections, and it comes in a grey, sort of grey, whitey, light grey plastic. So you glue it all together with super glue, and then I've sprayed it matte black, and then I've dry brushed it with a brown to give it a sort of used sleeper effect. So my idea of that is it's just going to be a little sort of platform where people can step aboard a carriage to either look inside the carriage or perhaps go for a short ride using it. As you can see, the turntable will be fed by this line here. There's this line here, sorry, and then there's two coming out which will go to an engine shed here, and one here that goes around and will end somewhere just round the corner. My problem or dilemma is what to do for this turntable. As you may well know if you've seen earlier videos, I have a Fleischmann turntable over there which has lots of outlets, but to be honest I'm not particularly happy with it, and I really like the AMD turntable, so I'm thinking of buying the AMD turntable and putting that over there, but changing the layout slightly for the diesel shed. But anyway, putting the AMD, so I've then got that Fleischmann table left over. Now my dilemma is really whether I put it in here, but when you consider that that's £300 odds worth and the AMD is £400, there's a lot of money laying around in turntables. And this one only has 3 outlets, no sorry 4 outlets that are being used. So what my thoughts are at the moment, rather than put the Fleischmann here, is sell the Fleischmann, put the AMD at the other end, and then just buy a little Pico well type turntable, put it here and just do it manually. It won't get a lot of use as much as over there. So that's my dilemma. Anyone, any thoughts on that? Let me know. And the other thing is really just a little update. As you can see from here, I've put in lighting. Got to glue it up right a bit. I've put in some odds and sods and sort of weathered it a little bit more. I've still got some things still to do. I've got a sheet here of different signage which I'm going to put up and make some signage for. I've put in a little welder on the floor there, welding some wheels. There's lighting inside being put in. The lighting here is all been dropped down, but it's not actually wired into the lighting buzz wire. Got that to do. But apart from that, this is pretty much finished. A bit of fluffing around here and there, but I'm reasonably pleased with this little area. So next thing is, as I've already said, I've started the points here and we'll continue with that. So I'll show you what I've done a bit later. So bye for now.